How do you know if the path you're walking toward love is truly guided by God? So many pray for a partner, but few prepare their hearts for the weight of divine love. We want companionship, but God desires alignment. We chase connection, but heaven calls us to surrender first. Before the right person appears, God always begins with a question whispered deep into your spirit. Will you let me lead? Because the journey toward your ideal partner is not a search for another soul. It is a return to your own wholeness under God's hand. The divine journey to love never starts with romance. It begins with revelation. God begins to show you who you are apart from the noise, apart from the need to be chosen. He teaches you the sacred truth that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. In that quiet space, your soul becomes ready to love, not from emptiness, but from abundance. He removes the need to be seen, so you can finally recognize the one who sees you through his eyes. And so the EAB path unfolds, not in haste, but in holiness. God doesn't want you to fall in love quickly. He wants you to fall in love correctly. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment is his way of preparing your heart to recognize what peace feels like. Divine timing doesn't rush, it refines. When you walk with God, even waiting becomes worship, and every unanswered prayer becomes a seed of preparation. Before we take the first step, pause and ask yourself, do I want what I want, or do I want what God wills? Because once your heart chooses his will above your desire, the path clears. That's when guidance begins, when heaven whispers, now you're ready. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, like this video and comment below. I trust God to guide my path in love. Before you can find the one God has chosen for you, you must first stop searching with your own eyes. Divine love begins not with pursuit, but with surrender. Most people start looking for someone who will complete them, yet God calls you to let him complete you first. He cannot bring a holy connection to a heart still clinging to human control. The first step, then, is not asking, where is my person, but whispering, Lord, prepare me. Surrender means releasing the story you've been trying to write on your own. It means loosening your grip on the timelines, the expectations, and the versions of love you thought would save you. God cannot bless what you idolize, and sometimes the thing you call love is simply the fear of being alone, dressed in devotion. True surrender strips that illusion away. It invites God to rewrite your definition of love, not as a feeling to chase, but as a reflection of his heart flowing through yours. When you finally surrender, you'll notice that peace begins to replace pressure. You'll stop chasing signs and start following stillness. You'll stop demanding that love appears and start becoming the kind of soul who attracts it naturally. God will begin to reorder your priorities, deepening your spiritual roots, healing the hidden wounds, teaching you to find fulfillment in his presence before seeking it in another person. And here's the divine paradox. The moment you stop striving to find love, love starts moving toward you, because surrender isn't about giving up your desire, it's about giving it back to the one who planted it. When you hand the pen of your love story to God, you trust that every delay, every disappointment, and every detour is part of his design. The first step is not to search harder, but to kneel deeper. When you surrender before seeking, you open the only door that truly matters, the one heaven opens when your will finally aligns with his. That is where divine love begins, not in pursuit, but in peace. Before God allows your heart to intertwine with another, he insists on healing the wounds that made you believe brokenness was normal. Hope without healing becomes illusion. It makes you chase love as medicine, not mission. The second step toward your God-ordained partner is therefore sacred and often painful. You must let God touch what you have spent years hiding. Every scar, every disappointment, every pattern you keep repeating is not punishment, but proof that there are pieces still waiting to be restored by his hands. Healing is not about forgetting who hurt you. It's about releasing who you became because of that hurt. God doesn't erase your past. He redeems it. He takes the ashes of betrayal and shapes them into wisdom. He turns the walls you built for protection into gates that open only for peace. And when you let Him heal you, you begin to see that the purpose of pain was never to destroy you, but to define the kind of love you were meant to receive, the kind that mirrors His grace. When your heart is wounded, even good things can feel threatening. You misread care as control, distance as rejection, love as danger. That's why God pauses your love story until you can discern safety again. He slows you down so you stop bleeding on those who didn't cut you. Healing changes your vision. You stop seeking intensity and start valuing consistency. You stop craving attention and begin desiring peace. Sometimes healing looks like loneliness, but it's really renewal. It's the quiet season when God performs spiritual surgery, removing resentment, stitching faith, cleansing memory. When the process feels long, remember, God delays not to deny you, but to deliver you from repeating cycles that once broke you. You cannot build a divine connection on a foundation still fractured by the past. Love given too soon becomes another wound. So before you hope for someone to hold your heart, let heaven hold it first. Only a healed heart can recognize holy love when it arrives, because pain teaches you what real peace feels like. God rarely speaks through noise. He whispers in peace. The third step to finding your God-guided partner is learning to recognize the quiet signs, the subtle confirmations that don't shout but settle. You will never hear His voice in chaos, because chaos belongs to confusion, not to Christ. The signs of divine direction are always calm, never frantic. They don't manipulate your emotions. They anchor your soul. When it's God, you will notice stillness, even when everything around you is uncertain. You'll stop feeling the need to chase clarity, because clarity will begin to chase you. Divine signs are not about coincidences or flashes of emotion. They are about consistent peace. It's the way your spirit feels when you pray about the person, not agitated, not pressured, but gently assured. God doesn't send someone who drains your discernment. He sends someone who strengthens it. The quiet signs come as alignment, not anxiety. You'll start to notice how your values line up naturally, how your pace feels synchronized without effort. Conversations will leave you lighter, not heavier. You'll sense harmony instead of hesitation. And even when you don't have all the answers, your heart will whisper, "I can rest here." But to hear those signs, you must be willing to quiet your own desires. Many miss God's voice because they are too busy arguing with His direction. The Spirit speaks softly, but never contradicts Scripture, never feeds fear, never glorifies the flesh. When you seek His voice more than a sign, the signs will follow effortlessly. God's confirmation will never require you to compromise your peace or your purpose. It will not confuse your spirit or contradict your character. It will come as a steady rhythm within, a whisper that says, "You're safe here. You're seen here. You're led here." So before you make any move, pause and listen. Don't chase signs in the sky. Watch for the signs within your spirit. Peace is not the result of the right choice. It's the signal of it. Comment below. I trust God's guidance in love. Waiting is one of the hardest parts of walking with God. Not because He is late, but because we are impatient. The fourth step in finding your ideal partner is learning to wait without worry. Many people wait, but few wait well. True waiting is not passive, it is spiritual preparation. It is the holy pause between prayer and promise, the place where God teaches your heart to rest instead of rush. When you are in a waiting season, the enemy will try to make you believe that silence means absence. He will whisper, "God forgot you." But heaven's silence is never neglect. it is nurturing. God speaks in His timing, not yours. He is not withholding love. He is protecting you from premature connection. The partner He has for you is not only being prepared, they are being positioned. Every divine love story is written in 2 chapters at once, yours and theirs, and God must finish both before the pages can meet. To wait without worry means to trust without proof. It means believing that God is moving even when you see no movement at all. It's choosing to prepare rather than panic, to build your faith while He builds your future. The waiting season is when character replaces craving. You learn that what you attract is a reflection of what you've become. God uses waiting to polish your patience, purify your motives, and strengthen your spirit so that you won't worship the gift more than the giver when it arrives. Many grow weary in waiting because they measure time instead of transformation. But God measures maturity, not minutes. He waits for your heart to stop begging for what's next and start blooming where you are. When your peace becomes steady, even in uncertainty, heaven recognizes readiness. Waiting without worry is not denial of desire. It is disciplined hope. It's the confidence that God's plan does not require your panic. And one day, when you finally see what He was preparing, you will thank Him for every moment He made you wait. Because the right person will never be delayed. They will arrive exactly when both hearts are ready to love without fear. The final step is the moment of recognition, not just of love, but of purpose. Divine love never exists for comfort alone. It carries a calling. When God unites you with someone, it is not merely so you can enjoy companionship, but so that both your lives can echo His glory. The right connection doesn't pull you away from purpose, it propels you deeper into it. You'll feel the shift immediately. Your prayers change, your focus sharpens, and your love begins to serve something bigger than itself. You'll know it's guided by God when the relationship doesn't revolve around emotions, but around mission. The connection becomes a place of growth, accountability, and faith. You inspire each other to rise, to forgive, to give, to build. You begin to dream with heaven in mind, asking not, "What do I want from this person?" but "What can we create together for God's kingdom?" That's when love transcends romance and becomes ministry. Purposeful connection is not perfect connection. You will still face tests, but the trials will refine rather than ruin you. You will disagree, but you won't destroy. Because when love is anchored in God's will, storms strengthen it instead of sinking it. The right partner won't worship you, they'll worship with you. They will remind you that love isn't a destination. It's a direction, one that always leads back to Him. Purpose turns affection into alignment. It transforms 2 individual stories into a single testimony of grace. And in that union, God multiplies what neither of you could have built alone. Together, you'll find yourselves serving in ways that feel effortless, because your souls were designed to complement, not compete. So when you meet someone whose presence doesn't distract you from God, but draws you closer to Him, pay attention. That's not coincidence. That's calling. Divine love is never random. It's revelation. And once you recognize that purpose intertwines with peace, you'll never settle for anything less. Again, delay is one of God's most misunderstood gifts. We often mistake it for denial, when in truth it is divine direction wearing the disguise of time. When you pray for love and nothing seems to move, it doesn't mean God has forgotten you. It means He is guiding you through unseen preparation. Every delay is a recalibration, every pause a protection. Heaven never rushes what it intends to last forever. God doesn't measure readiness by desire, He measures it by depth. Sometimes He delays, because your heart still believes love should fill your emptiness, not accompany your wholeness. Sometimes He delays, because the person meant for you is still healing from something you know nothing about. Delay is not a punishment, it's a partnership. God working behind the scenes to align two timelines into one divine appointment. When you stop fighting the delay, you start finding direction. You begin to notice how everything you once called late is actually arriving right on time. God uses waiting as a compass, guiding you away from what glitters but isn't gold and toward what is holy, even when it's hidden. The delay purifies your motives. It teaches you to love from abundance, not from anxiety. It replaces desperation with devotion. In the delay, God sharpens your discernment. You begin to see that not every opportunity is a door and not every attraction is alignment. You stop chasing and start choosing, not with fear, but with faith. Because now you understand that delay is not God's silence, it's His strategy. The longer He takes, the greater the foundation He's building. When you finally surrender to His timing, you'll realize that you were never waiting alone. You were walking under His direction all along. And when the love He promised arrives, you'll recognize it instantly. Not because it's perfect, but because it's peaceful. Not because it came quickly, but because it came covered in purpose. Comment below. I trust God's direction, even in delay. Before every promise, there is protection. Before every divine union, there is a sacred separation. God's first act of love is not to give, but to guard. You may think He's keeping you from something good, but in truth, He's keeping you for something holy. His protection is the prelude to His promise, a divine filter that removes anything that could corrupt the blessing before it arrives. Sometimes that protection looks like rejection. A relationship ends, a message goes unanswered, a door you were praying for suddenly closes. You wonder why, and heaven simply whispers, because I see what you don't. God knows the intentions you can't discern, the timing you can't control, and the pain you're not strong enough to bear again. So He steps in, not to deprive you, but to deliver you from what would have delayed your destiny. Protection is love in motion. It doesn't always comfort. Sometimes it confuses. Yet, if you look closely, you'll see His fingerprints all over the things that didn't work. Out. The people who left were released by His mercy. The opportunities that slipped away were removed by His design. Even the heartbreaks you thought ruined you were actually redirections, sacred detours steering you back toward His will. God's protection often requires your disappointment. That's the tension of faith, trusting the no even when you prayed for a yes. But what if that no is the only reason your heart is still intact? What if that closed door was the shield between you and unnecessary pain? You see, the same God who opens heaven also blocks harm. The same hands that bless are the ones that build barriers around your peace. And while you wait behind those barriers, God is preparing the promise. He's refining your discernment, reshaping your desires, and restoring your readiness. One day you'll look back and realize His protection wasn't punishment, it was provision. Because before He gives you what you've prayed for, He makes sure it can't be taken away. God's no is never the end. It's the beginning of something safer, deeper, and divinely aligned with His plan for your heart. There is a sacred calm that comes when God's promise finally steps into your life. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or fanfare, but with stillness, a peace that feels both new and familiar, like something your soul has known all along. The moment you realize it's the one God has chosen, there's no panic, no performance, no pretending. It's not the thrill of uncertainty. It's the quiet relief of recognition. You won't question if you're enough, because in their eyes you'll see the reflection of God's assurance that you always were. Divine love doesn't begin with infatuation. It begins with alignment. It feels safe, not shallow. It feels honest, not hurried. When you meet the person God prepared for you, you'll notice how everything that once felt heavy now feels light. Communication becomes natural, trust feels effortless, and both of you find comfort in silence. You'll realize that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. When it's divine, peace is its volume. You won't need to force connection or fear distance. The same God who brought your souls together will sustain the bond through every storm. Even when you disagree, you'll sense that the foundation is too solid to crumble because it wasn't built by emotion, but by intention. Their presence won't complete you. It will complement the wholeness God has already formed within you. And you'll notice something deeper. The focus shifts from what can I gain from this love to who can we become through it. You start to see the relationship not as a possession, but as a purpose. Together you'll grow in grace, challenge each other to walk in faith, and anchor your hearts in something eternal. This moment when divine love reveals itself is less about fireworks and more about confirmation. It's when your spirit whispers, "This is it," not because it's perfect, but because it's peaceful. You'll look back and understand that every delay, every heartbreak, every lonely prayer was leading you here, to this moment, to this peace, to this person. At the end of every divine journey, gratitude becomes the language of the soul. You finally see the reason behind every delay, every closed door, every tear that once felt wasted. God was never withholding love. He was building it. He wasn't ignoring your prayers. He was perfecting the person who would answer them. The waiting wasn't empty. It was essential. Every quiet season became a classroom, teaching you how to trust, how to discern, how to love with purity instead of panic. Now, standing on the other side of the process, your heart understands what faith really means. Faith isn't believing you'll get what you want. It's trusting that what God gives will be exactly what you need. Gratitude replaces anxiety. You no longer chase signs or fear silence. You rest in the rhythm of divine timing. You realize that God didn't just guide you to your ideal partner. He guided you back to yourself, the version of you who can love without losing peace. And when you finally meet the person He's chosen, you'll love them differently. You'll love them with patience, with prayer, with purpose. You'll love them the way God loved you through your waiting, gently, faithfully, without fear. You will no longer see love as a rescue, but as a reflection of grace. The two of you won't just walk together. You'll worship together. You'll build not just a relationship, but a legacy, one that testifies that divine love is real and that waiting for it is always worth it. So pause here and give thanks. Thank Him for the times He said no to protect your heart. Thank Him for the times He said, wait to prepare your faith. Thank Him for the promise that is finally unfolding, because everything that is truly from God arrives wrapped in peace, sustained by purpose, and sealed with gratitude. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, like this video, and comment below. Thank you, God, for guiding my steps toward true love. And don't miss the next message. Another reflection to remind you that God's timing is perfect, His promises are sure, and His love is always worth the wait.